Before pulling my anchor up, I just had to take a closer look at this yacht that probably was a beautiful ship long time ago. However, now it looks really sad, and I would say a pretty optimistic project. In this episode, I'm leaving the Scandinavian group for some days, heading south to Le Marine to do some last-minute projects, before we all meet again for new adventures. Everything comes to an end, and also my stay in Martinique, as this is my last week here before setting sails toward Grenada single-handed. When I first time set my foot on shore at Martinique in 2018, I really did not like this island that much. I even thought I had been giving the island a fair chance, but man was I wrong. I'm not afraid of admitting how wrong I was, and how important it is to be open-minded and not judge things or persons based on its first impression. I'm the first to admit sometimes this can be hard, but luckily it's always time to improve and also to learn by my mistakes. Some claims that solo sailors tends to get a little bit crazy talking to themselves and get too much salt water in their blood. I'm not sure if I've reached that point yet, as I'm way too social and love to be around people with positive energy. However, sailing solo for sure gives you plentiful of time to quietly reflect over your life in general and even small things in detail. Not to be too poetic here. But sailing through this Sahara sand dust with very limited visibility, it was kind of summing up my reflections during this smooth sailing back to Le Marine. I guess what I'm trying to say is that until you know a place, person or a thing, it can be like this foggy sight limiting your ability to see what's behind. And the more I have learned about Martinique, the more I love this island, its people and its culture. Much thanks to Hannah that has been translating and helping us to find the really nice spots. That's why I'm gonna show you more of this beautiful island Martinique, its dark history and even my totally normal daily life from this week. It's no doubt the COVID situation has been challenging, not only to me as a sailor, but of course for the whole world in dramatic ways with enormous consequences. Today's world situation also forced me to change my plans, but it has also been a blessing and I like to focus on the positive things. On the positive side, it has been giving me a lots of new friends, time to do upgrades on Be Free and learn to know Martinique even better. Facing today's reality and all the sailors I have met here the last months makes me feel even more privileged and lucky, as I even had the chance to enjoy the carnival here on Martinique in 2019. Grenada also have carnivals, and hopefully this will be as planned in August when I'm there. Starting my day with a traditional Norwegian breakfast, including sending a photo of this to friends back home, just to tease them a little bit, as I do now and then. I'm always looking out for these ferries before taking down my swim platform, and today I'm starting with some reorganization of my garage and dinghies. Obviously it would be very bad for my swim platform and also a challenge with this kind of waves while taking off the outboard. In this time of year you never know what's gonna happen, as it's after all hurricane season. Some wonder why I now carry so much diesel, as I have enough to go at least 2,500 nautical miles by engine. It's just to be on the safe side, and if I have to run, it's nice to have. Also, you never know if a hurricane strikes, and it could be difficult to get diesel. Being done with my garage, I took my old dinghy, now slightly overpowered, into the shipyard, hunting some pieces of marine plywood for a tiny project. I decided to make doors behind the sofa. As you can see, there is like here is just open, so when I'm sailing these tin cans comes flying out in the air, so that's really not a good solution. So I'm gonna make some doors and hope that will do it. Sometimes I miss my old garage and workshop back home, with all the tools gathered throughout many years. Being a sailor, you sometimes just have to manage with what you have. But I can promise you one thing, I would never trade my old garage full of tools for this view and this climate. And as an additional bonus, I even get some exercise running up and down the stairs, measuring to make sure my new doors will fit this storage room. And of course, improvising is one of the most useful skills a long-distance sailor should have. Trying to make a template to see how I can fit the clasps to lock the doors. I guess most modern production boats is what I consider as half fabricated, so you just have to basically be prepared to do some upgrades yourself. I do understand they need to save money by cutting some corners here and there, and I prefer the corners are cut on small things like this before compromising on important stuff. And I even managed to find the right varnish for my job. Okay, so I'm done. Obviously it's not like furniture finish, but it's gonna be hide behind the cushions anyway, so I'm pretty happy with it. The main goal is to make sure these things doesn't come flying out in the air when I'm sailing, so that's why I made these doors with the hinges and locks. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it and it works. It always looks like chaos on board when you are working on some projects, so it's a very good feeling to get things back into its dedicated place on board. And since it's Friday, it's time to do normal things, like cleaning my home inside and also fold my clothes and have things organized. You might think that this is quick done, as my living space is not that big. However, on a boat it's actually pretty time consuming due to all the corners and shelves and so on. Also I have 3 bathrooms, and in the tropics you normally do the walls and ceiling as well to avoid the mold. At first there was dust from Sahara, then it has been raining a lot, so I have also been a bit behind on my laundry as well. And it's always nice to have some excuses, because I obviously have been too social as well. Maria and Øyvind from Ramsalt and Harald from Sofia is arriving later today, so it's good to be assured with everything that had to be done on board. Harald is also a solo sailor from Norway, and he has a black belt in anchor techniques. In fact, one of his anchor articles was even published this week in a Norwegian sailing magazine. And as we all are gathered together again, we are going for an adventure tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
And Maria. And Harald again. It's a classic. The Scandinavian group is getting bigger, even though Peter and Lasse from Sweden just left sailing south. So on this day's cultural adventure we actually needed 3 cars. And our beloved Hannah is joining us today as well. We would never have this amazing experience without her knowledge and language skills, helping out planning routes, bookings and translating. We have a pretty tight schedule today, as we are going to see and learn more about the triangular trade and the slave history on Martinique. We are first going to visit the Ans Cafard Slave Memorial art installation, consisting of 15 statues that was completed in 1998. April night 1830, a slave ship sank in the rocky waters off the coast here close to the Diamond Rock. Slaves shackled together in the ship's hull drowned. As a navigation geek, I found the position and triangle a bit interesting. It's no coincidence the triangle refers to the triangle trade, and they stand at an angle of 110 degrees directly in line with the Gulf of Guinea, where the ship departed from. As it was illegal, nighttime was used trying to avoid getting caught, leading to these tragical results even 15 years after slave trade was made illegal. Moved and humble of all the things I have learned so close to this rock, I've been passing so many times with Be Free, only being fascinated by the rock. Nearby you will also see the house built in 1960, being the home of Medar Airbot until he died in 1973. This very small house was called the House of Convict because he had suffered a 13-year prison sentence after being sentenced to life for various thefts, but was released when the prison was closed. Okay, sorry, this was just a joke. This car obviously doesn't sound like an Aston Martin. Here is how awful this car sounds. Our next stop today is the Slave Museum that I have been wanting to see ever since the first time I was on Martinique, but unfortunately did not have time to. Hanna, hvor det vi nå?
Nå vi på Slavemuseet I Trois-Îlets.
Walking around here makes me realize Martinique again has surprised me, proving itself to be a very cultural island that also dare to expose their history.
Cool little museum.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff here.
It's pretty insane what they did, huh?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of history here.
This is the part dedicated to the Kalinagos, or the Carib Indians, which today are extinct on Martinique, but you can still find them in Dominica, where they actually live in a protected area. And in Martinique, the interesting part of the story is that instead of surrendering and mixing with the new people that arrived, they actually committed collective suicide from a cliff up in the north.
Wow.
Yeah.
More or less the whole Caribbean has this dark history, even all the way down to Colombia, where I also visited a similar yet very different place called Palenque, outside of Cartagena. Little did I know back in 2019 that the most famous hashtag for 2020 would be what's fascinated me a year earlier in Colombia. You cannot leave Martinique without a visit to one of the 14 official rum distilleries on this island. Even though you know you are on a tourist attraction when a train is waiting as you transport around its facilities. As young Scandinavian Vikings, we could easily walk around instead of being transported. We learn about the difference between industrial rum and what's called rum agricole. Unlike the industrial or traditional rum that uses the byproduct of sugar, rum agricole is obtained by distilling only fermented sugarcane juice. Also, this production plant utilizes all the resources, and even the organic waste is used to heat up the ovens. It takes 100 kilo of sugar canes to produce 10 liter of rum agricole. They also produce aged rum that have to be stored for at least 3 years. A popular drink in Martinique is plain rum with lime sugar cane syrup and a cube of ice, called tip orange. In Martinique you will be offered one at any day, any time. And after learning about the production, it's time to taste the different types of rum they produce here.
Then you have honey, pineapple, and that's it. Okay? So if you want to taste something, just come and ask me.
Yummy.
Good. That's good shit. Good.
10 bottles.
Yeah. Thank you.
Really friendly and charming staff here, and one of the employees came running to say goodbye in Norwegian, learned from her Google Translate.
Ha det bra.
And as a perfect ending of not only a very interesting day, but also my time on Martinique that has been almost magical, it's time to say goodbye. How can this be ended better than Eivind playing magician and celebrating a good time with good friends?
Alright, ooh baby, just hold tight. We're up the moonlight, believe in the magic.
We're gonna do magic here tonight.
Just right,
Special night for the magic night. We're gonna make this cigarette disappear. And we have some audience here that have already seen it 2 times.
Which audience?
But we didn't get it, so I need to like play it back later. So I'm gonna
So we need to say the words simsalabim and hocus pocus filiokus and what more? Salabam. And should we say just 3, 2, 1, 0?
free to live my life, free to roll the dice, free to go left or right. I wanna feel free to go wherever I choose, free to stay or just cruise, free to sing, free to dance, free to give into lust and romance, free. That's what I wanna be. That's what I wanna be. Now things are